Hi there, Luke here with another video. For those of you unfamiliar with our channel, my husband Tyler and I make weekly travel videos where we document our experiences since moving from North America to the UK. If you've been following our travel series so far, you'll know that we had been in Spain at this point of our trip, and that we had rented a car in Madrid and were in the middle of traveling around central and northern Spain. In our last video, we took you to the Sierra de Gredos Regional Park, as well as the city of Salamanca, whereas in this video, I'm going to take you to the beautiful region of Galicia in the northwest of the country. The drive from Salamanca to Galicia was really quite beautiful, and we enjoyed some scenic views along our drive. Galicia is interesting for a couple reasons. One reason that it's interesting compared to the rest of Spain is that we find that the ecosystem is a bit different here. It's a little bit rainier and cooler than other parts of Spain. So it was kind of a welcome break from some of the high heat that we were experiencing in central Spain. Another thing that makes Galicia an interesting region of Spain is its history. And that is because Galicia at one time was part of the same kingdom as present-day Portugal. And the Galician language actually has more in common with the Portuguese language than the Spanish language. And really, at least from what I can tell, from what I've read and heard about the language, is that it has a lot of the same words and grammar structure as Portuguese, but that the pronunciation oftentimes is quite similar to Spanish. So it's kind of this interesting hybrid of the two languages, which was really interesting to hear and experience when we were visiting there. So what is there to do and see in Galicia? For us personally, we started in the town of Vigo, which is right on the coast and is a great place to start in Galicia. We enjoyed a leisurely exploration of the city, which included a visit to the Castelo do Castro, a hilltop park with prehistoric stone ruins and ruins of a fortress from the Middle Ages. The panoramic views from here were just stunning, and we were very fortunate that we had very sunny weather, which is not something that you can say all the time will happen in Galicia. And this was probably the sunniest day that we experienced during our whole time in Galicia. So we were very grateful for the sun that we had while we were here in Vigo. After we were finished enjoying some of the views from this hill, we decided to head back into town and enjoyed the town center, particularly the Casco Velho, which is Vigo's old town, as well as the lovely Plaza de la Constitución. The architecture here is quite different than other cities we had visited in Spain and is filled with Renaissance-era architecture. After walking around this area of town for a bit, we proceeded to the port area where we just enjoyed some of the views of the boats, and we also found a place to have some tapas, oysters, and local white wine. There's a wine that this region is known for called Albarino wine, which is a great option to try out while you're here. Another thing you simply must have while you're here is seafood, because this is probably the epicenter of seafood for all of Spain. The following day, we took a ferry out to the beautiful Cíes Islands, or what they refer to as the Cíes. And the Cíes Islands are a part of the Atlantic Islands of Galicia National Park. The islands have a restricted number of visitors per day, so it is best to book a ticket in advance. We personally took a morning ferry from Vigo to Monteagudo Islands, which is connected to Ilha do Medio ou do Faro by a sandbank. There are no hotels or cars on the islands, but there is a shop and restaurant on the Cíes Islands that we visited. We had a foggy start to our day, which, as I said earlier, is not abnormal for this particular region of Spain, but we still managed to enjoy our time on the islands. We actually figured that with the fog, it would be nice to do some walking and hiking in some of the forested areas because it added a really cool, ethereal vibe. We had a relaxing lunch on the island after we were done hiking, and we of course indulged in some delicious seafood as well as some local beer. After lunch, the sun fortunately peaked out a little bit and we decided to enjoy it on the beach. And we even dipped our toes in the water, but it was quite cold, so don't expect super warm temperatures, at least on the type of day that we had. The following day, we left Vigo and we proceeded to the city of Santiago de Compostela. We probably had the worst weather while we were here in this city, but fortunately there were lots of activities that we were able to do indoors, and in some ways the architecture and buildings in this area lent itself to some gray weather. It actually kind of matched the weather because a lot of the buildings seemed quite gray as well, and it was still an enjoyable experience, although quite a bit colder than we had been used to in our trip in Spain up till this point. Santiago de Compostela has a unique UNESCO-recognized old town, as well as a shrine of St. James the Great, which is an important religious pilgrimage site and acts as the final stop on the famous Camino de Santiago pilgrimage route. For these historic reasons, Santiago de Compostela is considered Galicia's capital city. Something else that the city is known for is its delicacy, which is called the pulpo gallego, which are these delicious octopus dishes that are highly recommended if you are visiting the area. We stopped at a local food hall and enjoyed some of the pulpo gallego, as well as some tapas and warm tea, and it was a really nice way to warm ourselves from the cold weather. Another great indoor activity is visiting the cathedral, which is quite large and magnificent, although we do have to admit it was quite busy when we were there, so if you're not into crowds, just beware of that. It can be quite busy, at least when we were there. On our last day in Galicia, we left Santiago de Compostela and we headed to the rugged Costa da Morte. Our first stop was to the Playa de los Cristales, which is a small beach with softened pieces of glass that have been dumped into the ocean nearby. It's kind of a strange feeling, at least for us, visiting this site, because in some ways it's quite pretty seeing these different colors of what look like crystals. But on the other hand, it is a bit sad because it's basically litter and trash that has formed this particular attraction, and it's kind of conflicting visiting, at least in my opinion. After we were finished with this beach, we headed to the northern coast of Galicia, and we headed to what is called the Playa de las Catedrales, which has beautiful rock formations and we found had really dramatic crashing ocean waves because of the particular winds that were there at the time we were there. So that was quite dramatic and cool to see, but I was glad to not be too close because it looked quite dangerous, to be honest with you. It was very, very strong waves. Alright everyone, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed tagging along as much as we enjoyed sharing it with you. If so, please do consider giving this video a like, a comment, a subscribe, or if you're so inclined, leaving a tip with the super thanks button, because it really does help us keep making content for you guys. Be sure to stay tuned for the next video where we will continue on our scenic driving trip around northern Spain, this time driving from Galicia to the city of León. And there's surprisingly a lot of beautiful things to see in between these two regions that we can't wait to show you. See you at the next video. Bye!